Mohegan Nation as well. We are honored to have our governor with us today as well. And there are members of the Southeast delegation here with us, as well as members of the City Council here in Norwich and our City Manager, John Solomon. So I'm not going to take any more of your time because the information they're going to share is more important than you listening to me. Thank you and welcome all.
Well, thank you, Mayor Nystrom, for hosting this really extraordinary gathering, which is, a lot of times people like to use the word historic, but it really is historic. To have a government-to-government compact agreement to be announced here today with, again, all levels of state government and municipal government is very rare. And you know, Peter and I were actually in the state legislature back when the original arrangements were put into place for the Massachusetts Pequot tribe and also approving the Mohegan recognition. So I guess that shows what old dogs we are, that we've been at it for. That's right. Look, you know, in terms of the sequence of events leading up to today, it obviously began with a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2018, Murphy versus NCAA, which opened the door to sports gaming and new opportunities, which other states definitely moved out quicker than the state of Connecticut. But we're here today because I think in our state we did it the right way, because it was recognizing that the gaming operations down at Foxwoods and at Mohegan are different than just sort of commercial enterprises, private sector commercial enterprises. We're talking about tribal governments. And you know, when you come up with an arrangement, it really is truly a different type of task that's at hand. But the good news is that when you get it done, it's going to be enduring. We're not going to be in a situation like, and I have friends in the New Jersey delegation where you see, you know, casinos disappearing and getting, you know, demolished. We have, again, an arrangement with two tribal governments who have been part of this region longer than the state of Connecticut was a state or even a colony. They're here for the long haul. They're not going anywhere. And that is the type of partner that I think is just, you know, so special about the amazing work that they have done in the last 30 years in terms of becoming really a major stakeholder again in this region. So the negotiations took a while, but at the end of the day, I think what we're going to hear is that it's an arrangement which is good for both tribes, it's good for the state of Connecticut, and it's good for the local residents in this area. After, again, our great delegation here is going to move forward in terms of getting legislation passed, we will pivot back to Washington. We have a new Secretary of Interior, Deb Haaland, who was a colleague of mine in the House, who's no stranger to this region, and that we are going to bring an amendment to the compact to get that's the final step in terms of getting this, again, historic moment complete. So, again, congratulations to everyone who's been involved in this, Governor Lamont and his team, the two tribal leaders that are here and their council, and again, the state legislative delegation who, again, externally were prodding this process along extremely effectively. It's my privilege now to introduce, again, one of the government representatives here today, the chairman of the Mohegan tribe, who, again, has been working on this nonstop, James Gessner.
So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Congressman Courtney. Thank you, Governor Lamont. Thank you, Chairman Butler and your council. On behalf of the Mohegan tribe, I'm very happy to be here today to celebrate the fact that we collectively came together and reached an agreement on the future of gaming in Connecticut. This agreement makes sense for the Mohegan tribe and its tribal members, as well as the state of Connecticut. It will allow the state to be more competitive with other states while generating more tax revenue, which will benefit the state's budget and other municipalities across Connecticut. For the Mohegan tribe, we look forward to bringing the skill and expertise we've developed at our property here in Connecticut and around the world to these new services. As a matter of fact, at this very moment, we have tribal leaders from my council marking the opening of the first casino on the Las Vegas Strip to be run by a tribal nation. The Mohegan Tribe deeply values our historic partnership with the state of Connecticut. A tremendous amount of work went into achieving this agreement. There were a lot of late nights and plenty of meetings that were had to achieve this goal. I'd like to thank my tribal council, my staff, Chuck Bunnell, Helga Woods, and Anthony Casdia. Thank you to Chairman Butler and his tribal council and staff, and also thank you to the governor and his staff as well. We all worked hard to get to this agreement, and I look forward to the future. So now at this time, I'll introduce my good friend, Chairman Butler. Chairman.
Kuikwasan the Tumpawonks. Good morning, and good morning, friends, and welcome. Welcome. Thank you, Mayor, for hosting us in this great city of Norwich, near and dear to my heart. I grew up a couple miles from here myself, and so I spent a lot of time in downtown Norwich, maybe causing some trouble, maybe not. But look, we are incredibly honored and proud to be here, standing here shoulder to shoulder with Governor Lamont and Chairman Gesner from the Mohegan on what has already been described as such a historic moment, not only for our nations but for the state of Connecticut. Congressman Courtney, Joe, my friend Joe, spoke about the rich history of the tribes and the relationship and what it means for the state and what this moment means for all of us moving forward. You think about the challenging times that we're in this pandemic, and you think about the opportunity that this incredible deal brings for all of us in the state and launching us out of this pandemic. In other states where they have online sports betting and online gaming, it's created an incredible amount of additional revenue for those states to stabilize their economies during the pandemic. But pre-pandemic, it actually strengthened those gaming markets. And so we expect to see that here. Not only will we see an incredible reach to broader parts of the state with online gaming, but we fully expect that it will drive additional foot traffic here to southeastern Connecticut and help us get those jobs back more quickly. I was speaking to the mayor earlier about Foxwoods in particular. When we reopened, sadly, we only opened with about 1,600 employees. We're fortunate enough to be up to about 3,000 now, but with legislation like this, an initiative like this, and driving additional foot traffic back to southeastern Connecticut, we hope to get back up to full employment in the near future. And so we're very, very excited about this and what it means for our nation. Again, I can't thank my council enough for their guidance and support on this. Governor, we had our moments throughout this process, and I really do appreciate the fact that you stuck with it. There were many times where you could have walked away, and you probably should have walked away, as well as myself and Chairman Gesner. But we all had cooler heads at the table and realized what's best for our nations and for the state, and forged ahead with a deal that makes sense for everybody. And so I appreciate that, really, really do. We've been at this for a long time, long before you were governor, and we finally got it done under your guidance and leadership. So again, we thank you. And I also need to point out just the incredible cooperation, collaboration, and guidance of the Southeastern delegation. You guys have been amazing partners, friends, and family to this nation. Truly, from our hearts, we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for us over the years in pushing this forward. And really, the reason why we're standing here today is because of your perseverance and your persistence in making this a reality. And in saying that, I do have to call out my dear friend, Senator Austin, for you're a member of our nation. Our heart is your heart, and vice versa. And we can't thank you enough for your passion, your commitment, and your drive to see that we're treated fairly and equitably throughout this region, and recognizing what we do for this state. There's no greater champion, not only for the tribe, but for this region and for the state at large, because you understand that's what's best for all of us is working together. And so I thank you so much for that from the bottom of my heart and our nation. So thank you. So with that, I recognize my new dear friend, Maria Horn, who got this through the Public Safety Committee just yesterday. And so we appreciate her leadership. I mean, you look at the past public safety hearings that we've been a part of and the challenges that we faced within there, it took a real leader to pull it together and get everyone focused and take the debate out and get it across the finish line. And she did that, with incredible efficiency. And so we appreciate that, Maria. So thank you so much. So with that, We thank you, and it's an incredible honor to turn the podium over to Governor Lamont. So thank you again.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Rodney and James and Peter. It's great to be here. I'll just pick up where Rodney left off. Every negotiation has its twists and turns. You know, we started out, we negotiated Millstone and put in place a multi-year agreement that gives us energy security and a strong partner here in the region for years and years to come. State Pier took a while. Construction going to begin. Data centers, you've heard about what that means for this region in our state going forward. You know, building blocks for our tech future. I really cared about getting this agreement done with the Mohegans and the Pequots. Joe Courtney mentioned the long history. Goes back before there was a Connecticut. And first thing I told our team is we start with respect. These are two amazing tribal nations who have been here long before Connecticut got here, and maybe be here a long time after. And they've been great partners going back a generation. And we have a history with the tribes going back hundreds of years, which has not always started with respect and not always keeping our promises. In Connecticut, we go with respect and we keep our promises. You know, number two, I told our team, fairness. Negotiations don't work unless both sides feel at the end of the day that there's a fair deal, where both teams came out ahead, and it was for the betterment of all. And if it feel like it's unfair and things don't work, and this has been a long time coming, as Rodney said, you know, a decade, and I think we put in place a deal that makes sense. It makes sense for the tribes. It makes sense for the taxpayers of the state of Connecticut, and it's built to last. And that's another part of a deal that I like. It's a deal that is built to last. You know, Joe mentioned, you know, those things in New Jersey, sometimes the casinos go up, then they go down, not here. Our tribal partners are here to stay, and we wanted to put in place a deal that allows both casinos and the Lottery Corporation to continue to prosper in the 21st century. If we found out anything in this last year and beyond, it's that more and more of our commerce is moving online. We know from retail establishments, their world is changing. Can you say Amazon.com? And I'm really proud that Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods are going to be leaders, not just in terms of what they're doing at the casino, but what they're doing in terms of iCasino games and taking that statewide. And that's really where the future is going to be. And we're going to be competing with the best of them. And the iLottery has that opportunity as well. And sports betting, look, you can drive right down a half an hour to Rhode Island. We're going to be able to do that at the casinos, and we're going to be able to do that elsewhere around the state. I think we ended up with, is it 15 skins? Is that right? And that's going to allow, you know, amazing sports entertainment facilities starting in places like Bridgeport and Hartford. Peter, not here in Norwich. You've got the real McCoy right down the street. So it helped bring our urban centers to life. And that's why this is an incredibly important day, I think, for all of us, showing that people of good heart, from a position of respect and fairness, can get together and make a deal that's in the best interest of all our different parties. And I wouldn't have been able to do it with Joe Courtney, always egging us along calmly every step of the way to get the job done. So appreciate this is a good day for the state of Connecticut. Thanks.
Yeah, Governor, you say that this is it's been your global resolution on sports betting. I spoke to the first selectman in East Windsor. He says that they're operating at a loss after all of this. So can you just tell us what they get in this global resolution? Do you have anything that can make East Windsor whole at this point?
I mean, East Windsor, as I understand, was not a big piece of the negotiations that we were working on here, but I know there's some land that we'll see what the future of that is. But I care deeply about making sure that the town prospers going forward. To be determined.
And Rodney, Chairman Gessler, when can you guys say that it's official that, you know, it's a halt, but we're talking about this being a deal that lasts. When can you confidently say to the people of East Windsor, there's no casino?
Well, so for the deal at large, right? It's a 10-year initial term with a 5-year extension. If all three of us agree, which I assume we will, because we don't want to go through this negotiation again with only 5 years left on it. So essentially, it's a 15-year deal. At the end of that first 10 is when the restriction on East Windsor is lifted, and then we would move forward at that point. And so anything can happen between now and then. And I think, you know, one of the things that we've talked about, and this is really for the legislature, and it's up to the state how you all spend your money. The great thing is this deal is going to generate $70 to $80 million of incremental revenue to the state that, you know, today the municipalities get about $60 million of our current slot fund. You'll have another 80 on top of that to divvy out, and I think there's opportunities for towns like East Windsor, just like we do the impact aid to the surrounding towns in this region. So there's opportunity in there.
Given what we saw even before the pandemic, with the rise of competition and shrinking revenues with both casinos, has the market pretty much reached saturation?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, it's all about scale. And so I've always said we could build a casino in between Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. It'll have 2 slot machines and 1 table in it, but you can scale it to be profitable. And so same thing for East Windsor, same thing for the conversations about Bridgeport or anywhere else in the state. Yes, I mean, the other states have slot routes that make sense while they have resort facilities. And that's something that we'd have to look at and consider at that time when we look at the development moving forward.
That's a casino that's land that can sit there for the next 10 years though and won't be redeveloped. So when I spoke to the first selectman, he had said that they felt like they were an afterthought. So you're talking about 10 years at least of that not being developed where they think it's commercial property.
Well, no, it doesn't mean that it will sit undeveloped for 10 years. I mean, there could be opportunity in between, and again, you know, governor spoke to that. And
Yeah,
Chairman.
I think as the governor spoke to that, I think those are the things that that the three of us need to figure out, and you know, just have a path going forward. And I don't think, you know, it's something, you know, that we're against, but I think it's, you know, something that we can figure out for the town of East Windsor.
So Rodney, or gentlemen, how do the details of this thing get hammered out now? Is it the same people involved in determining, you know, the nitty gritty? Like you're gonna have college sports betting, what kinds of games are going to be available, and this kind of thing.
Well, the broader deal is nailed down in the games that are going to be available, but it's with the governor now, and I believe LCO is working through the legislative process, and then we'll work it through the legislature. And I know there's a problem with gambling, and there's other other consumer protection issues that need to be worked out. But again, that's the governor's staff that's fleshing out the details of the bill.
So things like college sports, how will that get ironed out? Will there be betting on college sports?
I mean, it's currently in there. I mean, that's a conversation that we'd have with the governor and his team.
Weigh in.
The casino in Bridgeport, any concerns, Governor? Already a city that has some economic challenges, that would just further exacerbate joblessness and poverty?
I think Bridgeport's going to be one of the priorities in terms of getting one of these sports betting facilities in place. There already is some existing infrastructure there, so that would be a priority for us.
I know there's a long road ahead here. Are you planning on people being able to place bets by fall football season?
I sure hope so.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got our deal. Now we sit down with Kathy and Maria in the legislature, Mike, and I want the legislature to move this thing forward as fast as we can. A good, clean bill, simple, ready to go. I think we have some folks down at the Department of Interior ready to move this along. Joe's got a couple friends there. Why not? Let's get going for this fall.
What would it look like once that happens? Will you guys each have your own sites where people go online and place bets? Give people at home who are watching an idea of what they'll be able to do and how.
Right. So basically, as Governor was saying, the goal is to be placing bets on sports by this NFL season. We've been saying that, and we think the process timeline aligns with that between the legislative process, the regulatory definition that we have to do at the state level, and the job that we have to do down at Interior. You know, once the legislation's passed, that's probably a 60 to 90-day window. And then from the back end, from a technology perspective, we're both ready to launch. And so once we hit that date, which again, it leads to mid to late summer, you know, we launch online immediately. We'll have kiosks at that point on premise as well, where you can do online, you can be doing sports betting within the facilities. But that day that we launch, you'll immediately be able to go on your cell phone and download the Foxwoods app or the
Mohegan
Mohegan app. And I wasn't going to leave you out, right? But make sure you download the Foxwoods one first, and twice if you have to. But in that day, you can as you're betting on the Giants to lose, you could be pulling your favorite slot machine or playing blackjack at the same time.
Any concerns about a potential lawsuit from a commercial casino?
I think there's concerns with litigation on anything we do. I mean, I don't know how many active lawsuits does the state have today against this. I mean, that's why I have a great attorney general, right, and a great team in that office. And so I think we should expect lawsuits with anything that we do. And so, is there potential? Absolutely.
Can you help us out with the legislative timeline? Is this going to be baked into the budget, guys, or is there going to be standalone bills? I know it came out of committee yesterday, but we could be talking about 60 to 90 days after, obviously, this legislation.
You want us
goes
to
through.
take it, Governor?
Sure.
All right. So first of all, I want to make sure that all the legislators that are here, Maria Horn is the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. We just passed it out of the first step right now. We also have here Representative Ryan and Representative Riley who are here, Representative France. I want to make sure that they all get recognized because the Southeastern delegation on a bipartisan, bicameral basis has stuck together. I think Maria's getting tired of hearing from all of us.
I am an honorary member. I'm from the Northwest, but I'm now an honorary Southeastern
because
delegation member.
we have to count on that. She'll bring the bill out on the floor in the House. It's a House bill that the governor is using that as a vehicle. It will get brought out on the House hopefully within the next week or two. It does have some technicalities that need to be worked out with Rodney referred to it, the chairman referred to it as LCO, that's the Legislative Commissioner's Office. They have to do the technicalities of the bill itself. Then it will go from the House to the Senate, over to the governor to be signed, and at that point it will go down to the BIA so that they can approve it as a whole. This could take a very short time, but all due respect to the lawyers here, sometimes they get involved in the nitty-gritty of the deal, which has to happen. But while they're figuring out where the commas go and the periods go in the agreement, that's what has to happen. We could get this done in 2 weeks and have it on its way down to the BIA. Thank you.
How does this impact off-track betting in the state? Will it impact, is there a concern there with those venues?
I don't think it'll impact them at all, and we've had some preliminary conversations with the people that operate that.
Governor, have you decided whether or not you think Connecticut needs a gaming commission as opposed to leaving this to the Department of Consumer Protection?
I guess that's still to be determined, but it is, pretty complex. We're looking at other states that have done this, and maybe a strong independent commission makes sense. Something we would like to talk to the tribes about as well.
Okay, but it sounds like perhaps not this year.
No, I think we got to get going. We want to open this up in fall. We're going to put this together.
I don't mean the sports betting or going forward with the expansion. I'm talking about the regulatory structure. Have you decided whether you stick with DCP short term and then move?
I think we'll probably stick short term, but we're certainly looking at the possibility of an independent commission, just given the level of sophistication it requires.
Based on how the pandemic has impacted the casinos, what does this mean? How much debt are you guys in right now, and what will it be moving forward?
Well, so for us, it's unrelated to whatever debt we have outstanding. As I said earlier in my comments, what this means for us is an opportunity to advance the return of our employees back to the property, right? I mean, the way that this works in other states, and Chairman Gessler can speak to it because they're in New Jersey, pre-pandemic, internet gaming and sports betting running in parallel with retail gaming actually expanded the overall market. And so you saw the Atlantic City casinos actually hitting numbers that they hadn't seen in a decade because of, similar to Connecticut, all of the surrounding competition that came around the state, adjacent to the state, and the online gaming within that ecosystem, and be able to market to those individuals online. They come to the property to enjoy great meals and shows and hotels. And so we think that that's going to actually advance the return of our ability to return employees back to Foxwoods. As I said, when we closed, we went to zero. And when we opened in June, we had about 1,600 employees. We're now just under 3,000 out of the 5,000 that were furloughed initially. And so we think this helps expedite the return of those great employees, great team members back to Foxwoods.
Did anything change within the casino atmosphere if the Bridgeport facility, I mean, it's not on tribal land, so would rules be different? Would anything be?
Well, just to be clear, there's no Bridgeport facility from a gaming perspective. We're talking, the state is going to have up to 15 sports betting locations, retail sports betting locations around the state. And so the idea is that one of those will be targeted for Bridgeport and Hartford, hopefully in the XL Center, to help give that project shine there.
It's
So it won't be a standalone. It's a standalone sports book.
Yeah, betting parlor.
What are Mohegan's workforce numbers right now?
Around 3,000.
And what before?
It was around 5,000.
Okay, so still out about two.
Yep.
Okay.
So to echo your previous question to Ronnie, it's going to give us the ability to bring those employees back, and what we saw in other markets is that people had to stay home, so they were able to play these games online and to sports wagering as well. So.
And you guys are expecting more foot traffic because it's region-wide because of those kiosks, or?
Well, both, right? I mean, we're going to have state-of-the-art retail facilities for sports betting, unlike what you've seen. I mean, unless you've been at some of the larger ones in Las Vegas. Mohegan already has theirs. We're in the process of renovating a space for ours. So that'll drive foot traffic to the property. But also when you're betting online, right, I mean, the western edge of the state is 2.5 hours away. That's a long drive to come to Foxwoods or Mohegan. So in the meantime, when you're not visiting us and enjoying yourselves on property, you can be doing it from the comfort of your home. And as you build that loyalty, you can then come back to the property and, as I was saying earlier, enjoy a great show, a great meal, stay at the hotel. And so that's how it's going to drive additional foot traffic back to the properties.
The Connecticut Council on Problem Gaming says they haven't been involved in this process, and why they want to be involved is because they want to be able to get their software in at the ground level. So I'm imagining maybe you all have contracted out somebody for something like that for the software to acknowledge when people might have issues with gambling?
Well, that's the great thing with online betting is that you actually have tighter protocols in tracking for problem gambling, unlike the physical properties. I mean, we do a great job, and we're partnered with the Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling, and we're the largest funders of the council by a lot. But it's difficult to track everybody coming into the property, especially if they're not rated players. We're online. You have to sign up. You have all of your information, and we can track those indicators for problem gambling much more easier online than we can in physical properties.
But to be clear, Madam Chairman, if you want to say.
Well, yeah, I will just from the legislative perspective. We in the legislature are in regular communication with the Commission on Problem Gaming. They're a big part of our conversation, so they're very much a part of the where we will end up in terms of details.
But how are you there now in terms of tracking this stuff online? Who's your partner? Could you spell that out for us? How you'll be tracking this stuff online? When people are notified that they might have an issue and how that works out?
Yeah, it's very complex. We'll do like a public summary of it, but to get into it today, it's very technical, and that's what we rely on our vendors for. Is they have very intricate tracking software for that.
I'll reach out to you privately.
Will private entrepreneurs have an opportunity to open up an online gaming business themselves, or is this just for the
It's just for the two.
Yeah. It's for the three of us, but they'll obviously have an opportunity to look at one of the retail facilities. Look, we just announced this deal. Give us a little time to figure out these issues. We're going to move forward quickly. The legislature is going to step up. I think I heard get something passed within a couple of weeks. I just have a simple question before we go. Who here thinks Tom Brady's going to win another Super Bowl? Raise their hand. Want to bet? Thanks, everybody. There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bravo.